Hello and welcome to the Wednesday podcast presented by This Is Ibrox. I'm joined by two fantastic guests, as always. Firstly, it's Ridvan's Scottish cousin himself, Reiss Cochrane. How you doing? Well,
Strong start.
Short start, no pun intended. There we go. You did very well done. And we'll maybe find out how Reiss is doing. He looks delighted on that. But how are you getting on, Ian, yourself?
I'm fine, mate. Yeah, all good. I think Reiss might be back, so we can check in on him again.
That was it. I tried to cut him off just before there as well.
No.
Nah, we can't hear you, Reiss. So there we go. I was having a.
It was the Ridvan joke. That was it. I had to go and cry. Nah, I'm all good, Kyle. Thanks for asking.
Oh, that's all good. And just to let you know, as always, there's plenty to talk about on this Wednesday podcast. I think predominantly we'll be focusing on the game against Aberdeen last night, given how big a game it was. It felt seismic being there. There's plenty of incidents, and I think that was just in the Aberdeen technical area last night. So we maybe touch on a bit of Neil Warnock with some funny stories coming out of Ibrox from the guys there last night as well. Obviously, there was a red card. I wonder if the views will be different to Tommy and Ross last night, albeit I'll caveat that way. I know they hadn't seen a replay back, but I'm dead interested to get what Reiss and what Ian thinks of it as well. Some good performances last night, really good performances. We'll have a chat about the new signings so far, the style of play, the mentality of the squad under Clement, his use of the squad, and if there's time, we'll maybe come on to Cifuentes leaving for Cruzeiro just for you, Reiss. Maybe a bit of Zach Lovelace and Air chat in there too. But listen, right, we'll start with the man on the thumbnail tonight, and I'll come to you here first for this one, Reiss. It is Todd Cantwell. He has been in excellent form for Rangers since the turn of the new year, I would say. He's becoming a really important player for me under Clement. He's not only shown the grafting side of things, but he's adding goals to his game now. That's, I think, 5 in his last 8, which I actually didn't realise. What have you made of Cantwell so far?
He's really turning it on. I think he came in the second half of last season and was immense. He had a poor first half of this season and he's kicked on again since January. He might just be a second half of the season kind of player, but he's been, I think, up until Christmas, you would have been quite justified in saying that he's not really kicked into gear, but he's been brilliant ever since. I think his goal last night just shows you the types of positions he gets into. He's able to drop deeper and go on the ball and create things out of nothing. And some of his link-up play with Fabio Silva has been amazing. So it's just good to see him click back into gear, because I think we were all a bit worried when that sort of flare-up between him and Clement happened, because we know how good a player he can be and how useful he is to our team. And to have any sort of rift between them would have been dangerous, but they look to have both put it behind them. They're back on track, and he's at the top of his game by the looks of it.
Yeah, he's certainly been really good, as you said, since Clement's come in that second half of the season. I totally agree with you that Aris Limassol, was it the Aris Limassol game? I'm sure it was the Aris Limassol game that he came off after 30 minutes. I remember sitting in the gantry with Tommy that day and genuinely thinking, this might not be as it seems. I don't know if this is going to work out. Obviously, he's quite I bet you Todd Cantwell's quite opinionated and has got a high opinion of himself in the background, which I suppose most footballers do. But yeah, I'm really glad to see that it seems to have worked out. RFC72 has got a great comment here. I'm going to ask you about this, Reiss, because this was in my next point. Ian might be back. We'll find out. But I said I think everybody's internet's just had graham ones on it tonight. But playing much higher up the park now, and it's suiting his game much more. What do you think of that? And Paul McGarrigle here says, I'm sure Cantwell has 18 goal contributions in 35 games, which is really good for a 10.
Yeah, that's great numbers if it's true what Paul's saying there. And he is playing higher up the park, and I think that's where he's more effective for us. I've always said that players aren't positions. It's one of my favourite sayings in football. He's not a centre mid, he's not a left winger. He's got things he's very good at, and the position that he does that for us in is dictated by the manager. And I think that when he's further up, one, you're in less danger if he slows something down and loses the ball, which we've seen him do a few times. And two, he's able to be more direct in creating chances, because we know how good his passing ability is and his ability to break lines. So if he's doing that for the halfway line to 30 yards for the opposition goal, it's nowhere near as effective as if he's doing it for 30 yards to 15 yards within the opposition's goal.
And what do you think it is that's changed in him? Is he just a bit more? Is he just maturing as a player? Is he just, or do you think that he's just really buying into the message that Clement's doing? Because he did say that. He did come out and say, it was pretty honest, Clement. Cantwell, when he said, I prefer playing in the middle, 10's my position. I don't like playing out. I mean, if the manager asked me to play out wide, I'll play there, but the middle's where it suits him.
It's maybe just been trial and error. I don't think he's had to develop himself in terms of maturity or anything like that. I think it's maybe just the team's been playing well. Clement's found that the position in the part that he thinks he's best in. Cantwell's suited to it. And his link up with Fabio Silva as well, I think, has been quite a big turning point in it. Because you've seen him and Silva together, like when they get firing together, you can tell that both of them have played Premier League level. I said in the chat earlier the day, I think Silva's the first player that's been on the same wavelength as Cantwell, and it really shows when the two of them play together.
Yeah, that's it. Like that goal celebration after, because you saw Fabio Silva running right over to him last night. There's obviously a wee bromance developing there. That's like my face when I see that I'm doing the gantry with Dennett. It's the exact same feeling that it must be. So I know how that is. And look, my final question about Todd Cantwell. I remember Kieran saying it on a very early podcast when we were talking about at the start of the season and those dark days, if you can remember, away back then. But he said he would build the team around Cantwell. Do you think Clement's starting to do that a wee bit?
To be honest, I don't think he is. I think it's just more that the 10's always going to be your most creative position in the system we play, and especially in a game like last night with Aberdeen, you're going to get that positional freedom when they've got three centre halves. They're not really likely to have somebody just sitting in front. But I think he's been really effective. I think Clement's quite big on a sense of unity and that his system is better than the players who are in it. The system is more valuable and it's more effective, and that's why we've seen Cantwell hooked when he wasn't performing the way he was, well, the way Clement wanted him to. And I think ever since he's just kind of went with it. So I don't think anybody's built round it, but he's certainly been a vital part in what looks to be a good second half of the season.
Yeah, totally agree. And look who's decided to join us again. Ian heard that we were just about to move away from the Cantwell chat, so he's actually got a bike and he's powering up his own internet himself, is what I'm hearing. So Ian, you've made it back just in time to have I was going to say the final word on Todd Cantwell for this podcast. We'll be mentioning him a lot more, but how impressed have you been the resurgence of Todd Cantwell under Clement?
Massively, yeah. He's probably one of my first names in the team sheet right now. He obviously suffered quite badly for that right wing slot they had for a little while, but now he's kind of shown us what we saw this time last year. So the more that carries on, the better for us. And I think, sort of saw it in the comments there, the link up with Silva is just something I think is going to get better and better. They're two guys that you may have said it already, but they're maybe a level above what we've seen in attack anyway the last couple of seasons. So yeah, keep playing them together and we're going to get a lot more success, I'm sure.
That's it. And look, I'll stick with you here as well. We'll move on to the game last night properly, and we'll talk about that the first goal. That was the first sort of major thing that happened for Rangers after 7 minutes. McCausland, who I'm sure we'll come on to later on in the podcast, had a shot right outside the box. Roos, who I don't know, I'm not sure about this keeper palming the ball out. And for me, if you're an Aberdeen supporter, not that I could ever imagine being an Aberdeen supporter, but you'd be furious if your goalkeeper was doing that. And Matondo is there, 2 goals in his last 2 games. This is the type of, I've not said it yet, but this is the type of players you need in your squad when you're in a title race. You need players that are, on the fringes, but are scoring goals when they're coming in. And yes, I'm going to say we're in a title race now because that's exactly what it feels like.
Quite right. Yeah, we certainly are. Goals from midfield, like I just said, is something we've struggled with a hell of a long time at this point. So I'm still not really convinced of Matondo. I think that's another debate to have. But 2 goals in 2 games, can't ask much more than that. I don't know whether it's a weird one with that shot because McCausland's shot looks pretty tame. So it's obviously quite a big mistake for the goalie. I don't know if he slips on the way down maybe, but obviously both goals will come on to the second one, but both goals kind of have that attacker running in and good movement, and it's the sort of Scott Arfield goal you'd see quite a lot. So yeah, more than welcome seeing that finally happening more often than not.
Yeah, that's it exactly. I think Roos was actually expecting a more powerful shot from McCausland and has already decided what he's doing before the balls reach them, if that makes sense. And he's expecting just to, thunder bastard that up to the halfway line when palming it out, but it's just landed right at Matondo's feet. Reiss, that's something as well I want to talk about. Was the tempo, the way that we started that game, the opening 30 minutes for me were absolutely ferocious, and that's the way I wish Rangers started every game, but it's not every time. Every game you got a chance to go and claw some more points back. But yeah, what did you make of that, and what did you make of the squad specifically? Like, they knew it was at stake last night and they showed up for it.
Yeah, they did. I think there was quite a big build up during the week about fans turning up and the squad turning up. James Tavernier referenced it in his post-match last night that if we're demanding of the fans, then the players need to match it on the park. And I think right for the start last night, there was a sense about Ibrox that everybody's in this together, and we were all in there to win that game for the start. And it was a great start. I think Matondo skinned Nicky Devlin a few times to start off with, won a few corners, with a few balls getting drilled low and hard, which was good because the floated ones never seem to pay off. But we had a really fast start and it was brilliant to see, and it's not something unfortunately that we come to see too often with Rangers, but hopefully it's a sign of things to come.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think we'll continue in that manner, Reiss, or do you think how do you think this is going to go from now on in terms of the pace in that start?
I hope so, but I think it's probably unrealistic to assume that that's going to happen every game. I think the likes of St Mirren, well, maybe not St Mirren, St Johnstone, Ross County, they'll sit about 10 yards deeper than Aberdeen naturally. They'll have less confidence that they can do something in the game. I think coming into last night, Aberdeen hadn't lost 4 out of 5 against us or something. And naturally, you're going to take confidence with that. If you see a guy that you beat 3-1 at Ibrox in the first half of the season, you're going to think, right, I can probably get the better of him again. But little did they know that this team's turned around massively since then, and it was good to see. But I don't think we'll be able to replicate it every week.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. You actually sound like Philippe Clement a wee bit there in terms of managing the supporters' expectations, because that's it. I'll be disappointed until now into the rest of the season if we don't start every single game like that. But obviously Aberdeen got that goal just before halftime, and after that, my nerves and anxiety were shot to bits. Credit where credit's due. Goldson could arguably have done a wee bit better. He just hesitates for me a wee bit when Barron pops that ball over the top, but it's there's 2 informed strikers in the league. Bojan Miovski's the other one. It was a good finish, and it's got to be to get past Jack Butland. But again, Ian, I'll come to you here for the next action point, and we'll fast forward to 72 minutes. It's another really good move from Rangers. Rangers are on a real good period of ascendancy here. I think Fabio Silva just has the ball taken off his toes as he's trying to run into the box. It was, again, a good challenge, to be fair. But I loved this goal so much. Tom Lawrence, first time shot, absolutely pings it at the goal, just sort of curving away. It's a goodish save by Roos, but you already touched on, palms it out, and the man in the moment, Todd Cantwell's there to make it 2-1 to Rangers. And I genuinely thought the roof was going to blow off Ibrox at this point.
Yeah, no, it felt like one of those sort of special big moments. I feel like you've been quite generous to Goldson, glossing over that. I would call it a mistake quite smoothly there, so we'll move on to that. But nah, the goal, it did feel like it was coming. It wasn't one of those games I thought we were going to struggle. The more it was going on, we just were kind of pushing him further back, and obviously brought Silva on. I thought he had a massive impact in the game. And same idea as that first goal, just follow it in, just take the gamble. It pays off. Likewise, Lawrence taking the shot on, he's got that kind of ability. I mean, I don't know if we've seen it too much, but we saw it at Derby kind of thing. He's got a good shot on him, and I think that was a big part of him playing from the start. The fact that it was a bit more attacking, a bit more creative, and he's got an eye for a goal. So I think it's a decent save, as you say. It's moving, it's kind of going away from the goalie, so he does well to save it. But just massive credit to Cantwell, following up, finishing it. It's not a tap in, so he still has to do a bit of work to get the goal. kind of thing. But massive credit. And yeah, as you said, Ibrox was electric at that point. It properly felt like a European night a lot of times last night. I don't know if we'll get that every week at this point, but massive moment and delighted to see that going.
Yeah, that's it. As we'll talk a bit more about the crowd later on. But again, I'll stick with you here, Ian. RFC 72 says Roos laying it on a plate for us twice. Duke celebrating missing the final free kick, and Warnock in charge praising us. Is this Aberdeen lying down to us and playing against them? Well, that would be a nice turn of events given how the last few years have gone.
About time, yeah.
But that's something I was going to touch on. Do you think that that's something that the coaching staff had targeted specifically? Because I noticed that we were taking a lot of shots from outside the box yesterday, and every single time we had runners in that box waiting to finish. And you know, I'm glad Cantwell got his. It reminded me of the goal that he scored against Celtic last year and our last season at the end of it. And I hope that's a goal that we can see more from him, especially with the new players and stuff like that come in. Do you think that was something that we targeted and worked on in training?
I don't think it was something we targeted because it's Aberdeen. I just think it's something that we've started doing more naturally. Sort of thing we're doing against Livingston. We saw Jack have that shot in like the 5th or 6th minute kind of thing on his left foot from outside the box. Like Ryan Jack isn't doing that. That's a clear change of mentality, change of tactics, and it's quite refreshing to see. Not that kind of side to side, you know, classic Clement line of shit lateral passes, but it's promising. It gives us a bit of a different dynamic because you don't know if someone's going to take that shot on, whereas I think earlier in the season we were very predictable. We wouldn't sort of assume we're going to shoot from 20, 30 yards. So yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that the goalies in this league aren't exactly a great standard. And likewise the defences. So if you can take the shot where you can, why not? It's clearly paying off now, so keep it coming.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's just, yeah, I think Kel Roos is actually not a bad goalkeeper. He's just, but as you said, he's at Aberdeen for a reason. So yeah, that's it. Reiss, the next point I am really looking forward to getting your opinion and your take on this. Was the red card? I think the incident was actually around about 86 minutes, something like that. Balls in the middle of the park. Dujon Sterling goes for it. Don Robertson. I never like saying look desperate to get a red card out, but he'd already made his mind up, was very assertive of it. Obviously, it goes for a VAR review, and something I've never seen before was the referee sticking to his original decision. If it was going to be anywhere, it would have been Ibrox, obviously. But, you know, being at the game, not sure how it was. Maybe thought it was a red card, but haven't seen it back. I'm not sure. What's your opinions on it?
I don't think it's a red card, to be honest. I'll put it out there now. I don't think it's a red card. I think it's harsh. I think it's reckless. He's maybe endangering the safety of an opponent, to quote a rule. I'm not even sure if that constitutes a red card anymore, but he's not caught him with any real force. I don't think there's enough in it to say that he's hurt his opponent. He's probably stood on his toe, which footballers get all the time. You get it 6 times at one corner. But he does go off the ground. He leaves the ground. It looks a bit reckless. Big douche hates Aberdeen. He done it against them at Hampden as well, man. I love that clip of him absolutely nailing someone at Hampden. But for me, I think that's the sort of attitude we wanted for the players. That was the sort of thing that we wanted to see, especially at that time in the game when you're chasing the game. Trying to hold on to your lead. But it's not a red card for me. He's caught him very, very slightly. If anything, it's just a case of going, right, calm down, book him if you need to, make sure that he doesn't do it again. But nah, it's not a red card for me.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there, to be honest. I was going to say no surprises, but I suppose it is if I'm agreeing with you, Reiss. But Ian, I'll ask the exact same question of yourself. Do you think this was a red card?
I'm about to lose all my staunch points. I think it is a red card, to be honest. I more think if that's shinny on Cantwell, I want him off. Like, I know he slips, so it doesn't mean to do him or anything, but he catches him. It's, as Reiss says, it's those classic lines of reckless and all this. I can definitely see why it was a red in the first place, because as soon as I saw it in real time in the stadium, I thought he's gone. He's gone straight, as you say, the ref was straight away card out, he's gone. The bit that confused me though was that he obviously checks it in VAR for a few minutes. I don't mind that again if you stick with your decision. It's not nice to see because it's us, but it's good to see a ref having a bit of backbone for once in that scenario. But he makes the VAR sign, which I thought meant they were changing a decision because of and still sends him off. So that confused me, to be honest. But I can see why it was a red. I can see why he kept this decision. Like I say, if it was the other way about and Shinnie on Cantwell or something, I'm screaming for red, and even still after seeing replays. So
yeah, for me, I totally see where you're coming from with that. Like I totally understand, but it's just this, you couldn't see his studs. It's where he made contact as well. It was like on the tip of his toes. You have to take into the fact that he slipped into that as well, and the fact that there's another referee looking at that going, I'm not sure. Reiss is right. The only criteria for me that it ticks is he out of control? But that's not because he's done it intentionally. He's just slipped. So I don't see by the laws of the game how that can be awarded a red card. And just the fact that another referee's looking at it going, maybe have another look at that and speaking. You'd love to know what they were saying. And the fact that I feel vindicated in the fact that big Clement just steamrolled right over to him at the end. And I would love to be a fly in the wall to know what the two of them were talking about. But no, listen, I think that's fair enough. It's always good to get different opinions on here. And you're right. If somebody does that, if Shinnie does that in Cantwell, you're every 50,000 supporters inside Ibrox are screaming for a red card for Shinnie, but it's Shinnie, so he probably wouldn't even get a yellow for something like that. And again, look, I want to just touch on that atmosphere again last night, Reiss, because it was so bouncing. We've seen that before in the past, that crowds going a bit, I hate the word, but toxic after Rangers go, conceding a goal like that so close to half time after being so dominant. We've all been in Ibrox when the heads have went down and we've not really believed in the team, but they came back out after half time and I really felt that the crowd were still back in the team, still applauding them. I mean, the Union Bears were, credit to them last night, they were fantastic, but how important was that crowd last night in keeping the team going?
Definitely. I think, just in slight contradiction to yourself, Kyle, I thought the first 10-15 minutes of the second half we started pretty poorly. We started like a team who were a bit shell-shocked because we dominated the first half and one punt up the park and Aberdeen had scored. So there was a point where I actually turned to my dad and said, this is on the verge of turning here, I think. And just as that happened, Ridvan goes down the line, puts a ball into the box and it's out for a corner. And at that point, you started to sense the support really building up again. The Copeland started going, the Union Bears never stopped for 90, and it just seemed like both ends came together at that point. And for about 60, 65 minutes, right through to the end, we were non-stop. And you can tell the players quite often will gesture to the crowd and stuff like that to get up for it. They're getting themselves up for it. And I think they matched the energy that the crowd gave them last night, and it definitely got us through, especially when it became a bit of a siege mentality with 10 men.
Yeah, 100%. I was so glad that they sort of stuck behind them, and yeah, as Ian touched on earlier, I don't know if it was just because it was on a Tuesday night and it was the lights at Ibrox, and it just makes it. But yeah, it was a really special atmosphere last night. And look, the final point of the game, before I want to start talking about specific players and performances and stuff like that, I'll come to you on this one, Ian. But it was the game management last night. Obviously, big Dujon goes off. I think the referee was 8-9 minutes or something like that. He added on at the end. I think he was pretty close, I think he maybe went about 9 minutes, but for 4 of those minutes, that ball was in the Aberdeen right back corner. I was delighted with this game management because it's something that we've not seen in a while. What did you make of that? And were you like me, almost applauding that like we'd scored?
Took the words right in my mouth. I was going to say I cheered some of the wee deflections and throw-ins and corners like a goal at times. It was class. As Reiss said, I thought the players, obviously they're great, like to a man, but the fact they were trying to get the crowd up quite a lot, I thought, and probably more than I've seen for a good while. That kind of reflects the fact that they knew how big this was. We knew how big this was, kind of thing. So every little deflection, I think Ridvan had one. Cortez has a great run, runs like 40 yards at the pitch, wins a throw in. That just kills like 30 seconds, 45 seconds that we need to do in those scenarios. And again, it takes away some of the anxiety from the crowd, which takes away anxiety from the players. Don't get me wrong, when that free kick got awarded, my heart was over the ice, and I was just waiting. I was right behind it as well where I sit. So the second they hit it, I knew it was wide. Got a wee extra second of relief before everybody else. But they've done really well in terms of managing the game. Something, again, we've not been great at over the years. So full credit to them for that. I was delighted to see all that happening.
Yeah, no, that's that exactly. It's brilliant to see stuff like that. And John here says, I was fairly calm when they scored. I was not.
No, me neither.
Yeah, fair play to John. Whatever you're having, I'll take some of them as well. So, because I was not absolutely, I was bricking it. I genuinely thought, I just went back to scar tissue, if I'm being totally honest, and thought, this is us. We've blown it. We've really blown our chance. But fair play to the team. Kept going 1-1 in the end, and yeah, it's always special when you're getting that. I'm feeling it at the end of a game as well. But listen, I want to just come on to some sort of just chat about general players the past sort of few weeks since we've come back. I'll start with you here, Reiss. It's the centre-back pairing. I know that Balogun has been the guy that's played a fair bit under Clement since he's come in. I think I might even say that he's the preference for Goldson at the back. But John Souttar came in last night. I really, really like that centre-back pairing of John Souttar and Connor Goldson. I think in their last 8 games they've played together, bar last night, a fantastic goal from Miovski. That's 6 clean sheets in 8 games. What have you made of the partnership of them, and what did you make of both of their performances last night?
I thought Souttar was really good. I think there was so many times where they just kept the ball between the two of them. Miovski was pressing, and obviously they've got a 2v1 there, and both of them are comfortable enough in the ball just to play it out for the back, let him press one, you make an angle and you play it to the other. He was running between. There was a few times Souttar actually stepped in, just progressed with the ball, dribbled it up to about centre mid past Miovski, and it just gets us up a wee bit, breaks that first line of the press, and he done really well. I think I'd probably argue Souttar's better in the air than Goldson as well. I think he probably wins more headers. He certainly clears a lot defensively for corners as well, but Balogun's got that extra wee yard of recovery pace that if, like last night, a ball goes in over the top of Goldson, that he can sort of get to. And obviously we've seen in the past with his red card in the Old Firm game that it's not always great to have him covering as the last man, but he's done well so far and they played well. I thought Souttar played well. Goldson has a howler for that goal, and I think it's quite important to note that's the exact same first time ball over the top of Connor Goldson that Kyogo scored at Ibrox from earlier in the season and Miovski scored at Pittodrie. Cause for concern there.
I'll ask you this, Ian. Do you think Miovski was fouling Goldson when he was going through there because his arm was a wee bit in his face?
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, I watched the replay back when I got home last night, and he's kind of grabbing him and pulling him. So it's one of those ones you thought it would get checked.
Yeah,
it doesn't. So shock. Bit of a strange one. Again, I think if the ref looks at that, he puts a few doubts in his head and might give the foul, but you could just say it's good, strong striker play. So it's a wee bit 50-50, that one.
Yeah, no, that's it. A couple of comments coming here. Ian, RFC72 says, Goldson really needs to cut out that mistake in him. Always concede the same goal, which is what you've just said there, Reiss. A long ball over the top. And I was secretly chuckling to myself when you said that 37-year-old Leon Balogun has a yard more recovery pace than all our other centre halves. But what that says about Rangers, I don't know. And this is a point I'm going to ask you here, Ian, about the two centre halves last night as well. But Souttar's long balls were on point. I was so impressed by the range of ways that we were attacking last night, and that. Yep. I think Connor Goldson's actually got a really decent distribution from the back as well, but don't think it's a patch on John Souttar's, to be honest with you. What did you make of that? All the different ways we're attacking, but in particular from the two centre-backs.
Yeah, no, it's really key to how we play right now. Souttar was my man of the match, to be honest, last night. I thought he was so solid. Header-wise, I don't think he lost a header. And Aberdeen are hoofball central, so to win that many headers says a lot about how strong he played, kind of thing. And likewise, it's quite a hard diagonal to try and find Ross McCausland, given he's like 5'4". Sorry, Reiss. But to find that pass and get it over the defence, but keep it in play, kind of thing, that's real craft of your play. I know Balogun's obviously got the kind of the pace, the bit more height and stuff. I would still keep with Suter, to be honest, just because of the flexibility, the options, the dribbling the ball out, the long passing, etc., etc. And I think even the little relationship that those two have got with Lundstrom now, so that if one of them does push a bit wide or maybe carry the ball forward, Lundstrom, kind of the way Jack used to do for Tav, just sits in, covers, keeps the back four sitting there solid. And just, again, it's sort of like the Cantwell Silva issue. The more they play together, the more those three keep together. It's just little relationships going to get stronger and stronger. So it's a massive plus for us right now.
Yeah, there's a fair wee bit of Suter love coming in at the minute. RFC72 says Suter come out from the back as well as a big bonus. Robert Binney here agrees with you there, Ian. He says Big Soapy was brilliant, man of the match. And John, this could be John Suter himself, by the way, just says Suter is brilliant. That's to be confirmed. So we we don't actually know. Reiss, the next player I want to talk about, again, I seen him getting a wee bit of heat on the socials after the game last night. It's a guy that you and I have watched a couple of times watching B team games, and that is Ross McCausland. I've seen people. There's been a debate the past few days that he needs to do a bit more. But for me, he's always involved. He's that energy. He's relentless down that right wing, and ultimately, it's his shot that gets us the first goal. What have you made of Ross McCausland in this team, and what did you make of his performance last night?
I don't think it's surprising to anybody that I've not got a bad word to say about McCausland, but
Yeah.
I think it was quite telling last night, right, that Aberdeen doubled up on him. He started off brilliant. He had the run of the left back, and I can't remember who it was he was directly up against. I think it was I don't know, big number 5 for Aberdeen, blonde guy. But he had the run of him last night. Jensen, he had the run of him last night to the point Johnny Hayes was tracking back and leaving Tav. Tav, to the point they were doubling up on him, and you don't do that with bad players. He kept being doubled up on, and he was constantly an outball. I've heard him described as a Jack Russell before, which is probably the best analogy for him. He's relentless. Yeah. He offers you so much defensively as well to let Tav go. And I thought, for all people have made out, and I've seen the debate on Twitter, that his numbers don't match the games he's played. It's not outstanding numbers for a winger that you would hope to contribute with goals and assists. But for me, the eye test tells you everything. He's a great player, and he's definitely well worth his place in our team at the minute.
Yeah, this is it. Dean Henderson actually steps in here with a really, really good comment. He says, folk have been moaning about us not playing boys from the academy. These poor performances happen with young and inexperienced players. They need to experience this to go on and be successful. But in my head, I don't think he's had... There's been moments in game where I think the decision-making could have been better, but I still think he's been a 6 or a 7 out of 10, which is exactly what you want somebody to be in that instance. And I'll never forget coming in at the start of the season and saying, yeah, Ross will not play every game, but I think since he said that, he's featured in every single game that he's been there. What's your opinions and thoughts on Ross McCausland, Dean, and where do you stand on this debate? Should he be doing better, or is it just we just need to accept that he's a young player and there's going to be a mistake every now and again?
Yeah, no, I'm very much of that thinking. I thought Craig from the pod, his comment on Twitter was quite interesting when he said about how he was a bit predictable last night. Like every time he got the ball, he was cutting inside. Don't know if that's maybe like a tactic to kind of free up that side for Tav, but to be fair, Tav was kind of popping up everywhere last night, bizarrely. But no, I like McCausland, and as Dean said there, I've been saying for years that we don't play enough youth, we don't give youth a chance, we don't show that there's that pathway there to keep youth in the first place. I think that's why we've lost quite a few good talents. Obviously, Gilmore, Wilson went to Villa, guys like that must have thought, well, I've got as much chance to make it down there as I do here, so why bother? So we need to show that these guys can come in, they can make mistakes, because they're going to. I mean, this time last year, I don't think any of us, you two obviously watched a lot more B team than I did, but I don't think anyone would have thought Ross McCausland would be a starter at this point. Obviously, they never seemed to be like the one people talked about. Yes, you're aware of him, but not to the extent he's come in at this point. So the fact he started adding a few more assists, I don't think we can count yesterday's as an assist, but he got one for Cantwell at the weekend, he got one the week before, so keep that going, keep chucking him numbers where he can, and yeah, I'm quite happy to see him in the starting 11 going forward. He's doing well for me.
Yeah, no, the other thing for me about that is to see if you are going out and you're looking for that on a bit of paper, the attributes that he brings, I reckon you're spending minimal 4 million quid on a player like that, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think he's been really good, and long may it continue. And it's always good to see academy guys in the squad. RSC72 here says Clement must trust McCausland the most out of all the wingers, and Over a Hill says absolutely no complaints about Ross as well. I'll stick with you, Ian. There was a wee point you touched on there, and it's sort of Tav's new role. I noticed it in against the Dumbarton game, where when we came back and he was just everywhere. What have you made again? I mean, he's not been getting the goals, the assists like he does, but I've really been enjoying Tav in this new role, and the freedom. And again, he's just really keeping things ticking over, and really he starts a lot of attacking play for us.
Yep. For me, Tav is our best player. So the more you can involve him, whether it is at right back, whether he's pushing it in midfield. A couple of times last night, he was up beside Dessers early in the first half. So I don't know if it's just kind of this new like modern football way of like inverting wing backs and stuff like that, and very Football Manager sounding there. But the way like Man City try and play, where you can't quite predict, for example, where Kyle Walker's going to be, it makes sense for us to be a bit more dynamic again. Have guys moving about here and there. It just stops. Reiss made a good point that they were doubling up on McCausland at times. That usually is Tav that teams are doubling up on, knowing he's going to come forward and get goals, get assists. So it stops other teams being able to say, well, we know he's going to be here, kind of thing. It just creates a whole new attack for us, really. And yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see Clement's training obviously paying off. I think he had a good solid week of training just the week before last. So little things like that are good to see. It's progressive, whereas not going to sit and talk about Bale, but during the Bale games, you didn't really understand what they were doing in training. I know. So this is just a little new avenue that why not explore it? If you can get Tav in more shooting positions, more crossing positions, he's going to get numbers again. So keep it coming.
Yeah, and Reiss, I'll come to you, and I'll swap fullback positions here, and we'll go on to the left-hand side. For me, Ridvan had another pretty good game last night. He was one of the players that was up in that Aberdeen right-back corner towards the end of the game, keeping the ball in there. Again, just another solid performance out of him. I don't think he did anything particularly spectacular, but it was just wee moments in there, again, just kept things ticking over. He is the first choice left back under Clement. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely. Again, especially last night when Aberdeen are sitting back, they've got tall defenders, they're wanting balls in the air. Barisic's game doesn't really suit that. Barisic's game suits when you're playing into space and you can maybe isolate a centre half with your striker and you can get the ball on his head. But if you play it into a 2v1, chances are the centre halves are winning the headers every time. So having Yilmaz there was definitely a great option. And he just, as you say, he keeps things nice and tidy. There was wee things, like a ball would break in the middle of the park when he's pressing high up, and he would just nick in and nip the ball away for somebody. He would just turn out of trouble. He was constantly an option on the left-hand side. And I think you sum it up quite well when you say he didn't do anything spectacular, but I'm not certain he did anything wrong either.
Yeah. No, that's it. RSC72 here says Ridvan and Matondo have a nice wee partnership down that left, and yeah, I totally agree with that. Similar to the McCausland Tav relationship as well. But look, there's a few more players I want to talk about. I was keeping these ones till last because they're the new boys, and everybody loves talking about the new players. So I will start with you here, Ian, and it was the man who came on. I loved this last night. As Reiss said, when we were sort of starting that second half, maybe wasn't working, maybe not as fast paced as Clement had hoping it was, but he just made a decision. Something that I've been critical a lot of Rangers managers in the past is waiting for that 60-minute mark, waiting for that 70-minute mark to make substitutions. But he called it early, and he took Dessers off, who again saw getting some criticism. Apart from some of the opportunities that presented themselves, he should be doing better. But I thought his general hold-up play was. I can see you shaking your head there, Reiss, but I'm going to say it. I'll mute you if I need to. I just thought his general hold-up play was okay. But yeah, he just needs to do better. But Fabio Silva changed that second half for me. Do you agree, Ian?
Yeah, I'm going to try and keep in the positive train and not talk about Dessers because I'm with Reiss, I think, here. But no, I like Silva. I do. I kind of had my worry when he signed, thinking he might be like a bit frail, a bit not getting stuck in, kind of here for 6 months in a way, but he really doesn't give off that vibe at all. He seems like he wins so many headers. I know he's not small, he's like kind of 6 foot kind of thing, but he wins plenty of headers, flick-ons. Going back to what I said earlier, him and Cantwell are starting to really blossom, like sort of playing together. You can see that getting better and better, but I just think he looks classy, and he should. He cost 35 million 3-4 years ago, so he should be a good player, but you can tell he has got a lot of talent. There's a lot of debate about whether he's like the number 9 for us, if he's going to get the goals, which that finish last night when he skint 3-4 guys, ran 50 yards, kind of points to that being a problem. But no, any big game at this point, I would rather Silva was playing, just for how much he offers, like all round, getting stuck in, winning tackles, bits of skill here and there. The turn, I was right in the second half at some point when he's facing away, he's facing the Copeland and just drops his shoulder, spins the guy. That's just a bit of class. Like, we need to be playing him every chance possible. So big fan of him.
Yeah, there we go. I totally agree with that. That spin that he had in that corner was like that. You can tell that's quality players that are able to do stuff like that. Null FNC, I'm going to bring this up just to annoy the pair of yous. He says Dessers had one of his better games last night. I don't think he's ever a Rangers 9, but he's doing as well as possible. Silva as a talent though, and yeah, I kind of agree with that as well. And the next comment that he says is, he reminds me on Silva a bit of a Mato, isn't the quickest, not entirely a 9, but class. Reiss, I'll ask you a similar question, or where Ian finished that point there. He's just not quite sure that Silva is the number 9 for Rangers, but his attitude, his application, his directness, and I think his ability to actually take on board what the manager's saying is really important. What have you made of Fabio Silva since he's come in at the club, and how important was he in changing that game last night? Or not changing it, bringing the team back up to the intensity they were in the first half, is a better way of putting it.
He's excellent. I think he suited last night when it's one each. Aberdeen have got a wee bit of belief they're maybe coming out a bit. He's got more space to play into, but I think he's a level above. You've seen the link-up play him and Cantwell had at Easter Road. I think celebration last night tells you a lot about their relationship, and he was just excellent last night. He leads the press so well. He's so much quicker than Dessers that he's actually a threat when your centre-half's get the ball, that he's going to come and take it off you, whereas I think with Dessers you can quite comfortably know that he's not going to come and take the ball off you, really. I think he's just got that wee nimbleness about him, that whether it's nipping in to win a ball off a defender or whether it's just getting edged round a defender, he's excellent. You can tell he's played the level above, and I'm already starting to think about missing him when he goes back. I'm thinking, how can we not keep this guy? So that tells you all I think about him.
Are you going to get a wee Silva 7 tattoo on your arm or something like that before he goes?
I'm going to get a Portugal flag for the last game and wave it in the hope that he comes back.
I can see you doing stuff like that. Like Paul McGarrigle here brings me on to my next point here, Reiss. He says Cortez is a player which watch him progress the more games he plays. Obviously saw him starting out, came on for his debut at the weekend there, was brought on again pretty early by Philippe Clement. I thought this was a bold move, but I've been really, really impressed with him. I was really, really encouraged by, again, how he was going forward, attacking, seems to have a wee bit of skill about him. It was a couple of times where his ability to switch the ball from going to his right foot onto his left foot, we got a few corners out of it. But Oscar Cortez, it's really good to see another Colombian strutting his stuff at Ibrox again, isn't it, Reiss?
Do you know, it's certainly not the sub I would have made last night, especially that early. I actually turned around and said that to my dad at first. I thought Matondo had played reasonably well, but Cortez came on and he's a totally different player to Matondo. He's less direct, he's more ball to feet, and he'll come inside and give it off to a centre mid. But it's early days for Cortez, and I think if we're being positive, that's probably what I'll say on him just now, because I think there's signs that he's not quite how we would like him to be, is all I'll say on it. I think, although everybody else seems to be raving about him, and I've got a wee bit of concern, so it's probably just my view in the minority here.
Listen, all I'm saying is you called Cholak dug meat about a season ago. So, but if I'm going by that standards, Cortez is going to be worth about 20 million in 2 years, all right?
I was also sceptical about Jack Butland as well. So if he's anywhere near his level, I'll be more than happy to say he's dug me.
And what was your thoughts on Dessers before he came into us?
Oh, no. I'm a stats man. As soon as I seen his stats, I knew he was a write-off.
And fair enough. And Ian, are you as, I was going to say optimistic, but I don't think there was optimism there. There was a bit of pessimism, wasn't there? Have you been encouraged to, to see Cortez at Ibrox? I know we've not even seen him collectively, I think, for a full 90 minutes yet, but I was impressed by him, his ball carrying ability, and I did think he got better in that team, as the game progressed.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like him. He's sort of same idea. I thought he was going to come in and be a bit lightweight and kind of shucking out of tackles and stuff like that, but he kind of gets himself stuck in there. That's 2 games he's played, and twice he's had to go down with a head knock for getting kind of stuck in. So he certainly knows how to get involved in the game. I think last night's a tough game to come into, given like the intensity, the pressure. I mean, there's a 20-year-old non-English speaking kid at this point, so he's going to take a lot of time to get involved. I think that's kind of why he got left out of the Euro squad over Diomande, because he's going to take a bit longer to settle and get suited to the team, and just again going back to like connections and stuff with players. But he's shown enough so far that I'm quite happy with him. I think we'll know more after this weekend coming. I'm hoping he starts that game and we can kind of get a proper look at him, see what he can do. But no, I'm going to keep it positive. I think he's done all right from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I just want to know when he scores his first goal for Rangers if he's going to do the knee slide. And just to let all the listeners and watchers out there, I can confirm that he has been watched from afar by a certain Mrs. Morelos away in Colombia, because we put up at the weekend that he came on to make his debut and she was the first one to like it, which I was absolutely delighted about. So no doubt somewhere at Morelos HQ, or I would say Colombia, it might even be Brazil, there'll probably be 1 million balloons already being ordered for the Cortez debut party there. But look, last one, and I'll stick you here, Ian. We saw him very briefly last night. I was actually a bit surprised. I couldn't believe it when his number went up, because I just wasn't expecting him to come on, to be honest with you. But Mohamed Diomande, obviously, I think he came into that sort of 10 position when he was subbed onto the pitch. That maybe looks like where he's going to feature. Seemed to have a wee bit about him, to be honest with you. There was a lovely move that he had in the middle of the pitch where he just sent 2 Aberdeen players the wrong way. Obviously, the Sterling red card impacts that, because he brought back to sit in that deeper line midfield role alongside John Lundstrom. But in the brief glimpse we got, this again, I don't want to get too excited, but this guy looks like he's a wee bit of a player.
Yeah, if you can come on your debut and do that wee bit of skill straight away, you've got something about you, which is great to see. Same as you, I was shocked when I seen 42 coming up. I know it's for Cantwell, so it's not exactly a attacking change or anything, but I just thought that was like a Raskin role, just to kind of come in and try and see the game out a bit. And I was a bit worried when Sterling did get sent off, thinking, right, he's going to now need to be like up against Shinnie, up against this difficult team to play. Can he kind of handle it? But yeah, no complaints. I don't think he done very much, but in 10 minutes, I didn't want him doing much. I wanted that ball in the corner, winning throw-ins, so that's no slight on him at all. Again, he's a bit bigger than I thought he was going to be. He's quite tall, looks like he can handle himself again. So it's more these guys, more athletic, powerful players we've got in the team, the better. And same idea, I'm hoping he gets a bit more time at the weekend, just to, same idea, get a better look at him, see what he can do. And no, I'm very excited by him.
No, that's it exactly. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in a Rangers shirt, and maybe get a wee quick prediction for air just towards the end of the podcast. And spoilers, I think he will either start that game or come on for like the second half or something. RFC 72 here piping up, and he says, nailing his colours to the mast straight away, and he says, saying it right now, Diomande will be a star for us. Yeah, totally agree. But time will tell. Look, the last thing I want to touch on before we move away from the game and all that stuff is, and I'll come to you, Reiss, I was really impressed by Clement's use of the squad again last night. I think we had a comment earlier on saying that the bench was really impressive. That's the strongest bench that I can remember in absolutely ages. Lawrence, wasn't expecting Lawrence to start. We started with Jack last week, but he really seems to be rotating the squad, getting the best use out of all the players. There seems to be a lot more players coming back to fitness as well. But the most impressive thing for me is that mental shift. They talked about it. I'm going to mention it in every single podcast I am on until the end of the season, and that is his 4 pillars. I'll move my hand that way so that the 4 can get in, right? We look fitter in terms of physically. We look better mentally. We look better from the tactical side of things, and technically, I've harsh on Sam Lammers, but now Sam Lammers is at the door, maybe we do look a bit more technically as well. But what have you made of those 4 things and how it's been applied since the start of since we've come back from the break?
I think you're right in saying that I think every one of them have improved. I don't think that any part of it has gone backwards at all. I think the team have really kicked on, and it was good to see. I'd agree. I think Diomande looks a player as well, and it'll be interesting to see how the squad's used, as you say, come the weekend against theirs, because I think you've probably got room to sugar it about and put a few players who haven't really started much in, but at the same time you've got to be wary that a cup upset against Ayr, knowing who their background staff are, that it's something you want to avoid at all costs. But I really do think Clement's just playing his best team at every possible opportunity at the moment, and I think Lawrence was a clever player to put in last night. I think he opened up so many passes for us. He gave us almost 2 10s sitting there next to Cantwell, and it just opened up a different range of passing and broke so many lines that you maybe don't get if we had started the likes of Sterling or Raskin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's been such a mentality shift, and it's been so good to see. And I'm trying not to get distracted. I don't want either of the two of you mentioning it and jinxing it. All right, so nobody say anything before we do anything. But look, I'll ask you both before we go into the Ayr game. I'll come to you first, Ian. But we're in a title race now, and this is something that we've not been in a while, I think it's fair to say. I think it's been a good few seasons. I don't even think you can count our 55 season as a title race because we were so streaks ahead. But it will be really, really interesting to see how this squad copes. But I can't help but feel everything's coming together nicely. And I think that Clement is almost building for that peak towards the end of the season. I can see your face there as well, Reiss. Don't say anything. We'll just move on past that point, and we'll see what's going on later on. I don't want anybody jinxing it, as I said. But you know, how does this feel? Like, do you think? I'm not going to say do you think we're going to do it, because every Rangers fan should expect to win the league. But I think this squad is looking in a really good, healthy place. Ian.
Absolutely. Yep. Things are going very well right now. But I think we've got options all over the park right now. The bench last night was packed with players who can change a game, let alone guys like Jack and Balogun being unavailable, and obviously Danilo and the longer term guys, Sima, etc. aren't there. So the fact that we're going to keep getting players back, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we've got a new thing now where players warming up go through a little fitness routine with a fitness coach. Yes. Little details like that, like we weren't doing it before. Clearly before it was just a case of, right, go out and warm up, go and stretch over there kind of thing. Whereas now it's proper management. It's proper detailed. Do this. This is happening. And the most important thing for me is that every player seems properly bought into it. It's a very easy thing to say, but you saw last night's celebrations at the end. You saw how big each player knew it was. The little laps of the pitch. It's just, I'm not going to say synergy because I'm just stealing Phil's word there, but it's a good word. It fits. Everyone just seems to be pulling together. Fans, players, coaches, manager. It's going very well. I don't want to say it's perfect because we have been scarred before. You know that it's not. We're only joint top prior to kick-off tonight, so still a long way to go. A lot of things can happen, but momentum's fully with us just now. We need to take advantage of any potential slip-ups that might be coming our way.
Very well put, sir. That's exactly what I'll say to you there, Ian. And Reiss, I'll ask same question to yourself. Do you think this is just gearing up quite nicely? Because I think that you don't want to say the perfect storm, but it is. It just looks like we're in the right place. We've got a good attitude. The 4 aspects that I mentioned earlier on in terms of the 4 pillars that Clement has in terms of progressing the club. Do you think everything is coming together nicely for this, and especially with the additions that we brought in as well, that we talked about just there?
I think things are coming together quite nicely. I don't think I'm going to change my tune at the moment, but coming towards the end of the January transfer window, I said to Scott Patterson that with the squad we have, we're not in a title race. I don't think this squad should be anywhere near a title race, and the fact that Philippe Clement has got enough of a tune out of them and they're playing that well is such a good positive reflection on his work. Because I don't think on paper that squad should be anywhere near a title race. So we'll need to wait and see how things go, but we've certainly kicked on leaps and bounds since Clement came in, really.
Yeah, totally agree. And listen, I for one, I've got the seatbelt on and the pedal down to the max because I think this is going to be a real good end to the season. And yeah, as always, confident. We'll see if anybody claps it up and see what happens after that. But listen, just before we wrap up and end the podcast, we do have a 5th round Scottish Cup tie against the Honest Men at the weekend. Always like to just touch on that before we leave everybody here. Get a wee team prediction from yourself, Ian.
I don't think there'll be as much change as people might think. Obviously, the game midweek is against Ross County at home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he'd maybe rest a few for that game.
Yeah.
There's not
His manager's just left as well. 79 days,
yeah.
Derek Adams is off scale.
He was box office having to join his post matches, to be honest. As for a team, I think it will be the same back four. Maybe Bonner comes in, kind of thing. I don't see anything too groundbreaking. I don't think Leon King's going to get a start, kind of thing. And I think it's just kind of keep the same, get the win, and then look to rotate. I could imagine McCrory might come in if he kind of stays as the cup goalie. Wouldn't be too averse to that, to be honest. And then midfield, I think you're looking at guys that have maybe not played recently, like Baskin. I'd imagine will start probably beside Lundstrom just to keep the familiarity a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then front three is probably hardest to call, I think, because I'd imagine Cortez will start.
Yep.
Diomande, again, might depend on his fitness. I'd like to see him start, but likewise, you could see Lawrence in the 10 or something like that. So there's a few different options there. And I don't know about striker, to be honest. I think he'll try and play Dessers to kind of keep him in form and then kind of give Silva the last half hour or vice versa. But yeah, a few different bits of contention there. But either way, I mean, it should be a comfortable day at the office, all going well. So let's hope for that.
That's that. And Reiss, do you predict the same changes as Ian there, or do you think it'll be a similar squad to what we've seen last night?
I think, knowing Philippe Clement, I think he will just play his best team he's got available to him. I don't think there'll be much rotation, to be honest. I would like to see, in addition to the changes Ian said, I'd like to see Leon King involved. I think we're at real risk of disenfranchising Leon King at the minute, and he's a depreciating asset. The less he plays, the less value he is. I mean, there was talk of Man United being interested in the boy a few years ago when he played in the Champions League, and now he's 5th choice centre half. So I think we've got to try and, especially if we're going to accept that these players are going to leave because they're not getting starts, you want to at least protect their value so that when they do go, it's not an end of contract thing or a minimal fee. So you want to see the likes of Leon King coming in, you want to see McCrory coming in, and the midfield you could rotate 6 different ways probably. So I think it will be interesting. I would probably go Dessers at the weekend, as much as I wouldn't like to, because I think Fabio Silva will be better for against Ross County next week. But that's me with one eye already on next week, whereas Philippe Clement will simply be the weekend.
Yeah, all I'm hearing there, Reiss, is options, which we've not had in a long, long time. So I'm absolutely delighted to hear it. But listen, I've listed a quick score prediction from you both before we go. Ian?
7-0.
Woof! I'd take that all day long. Dessers hat-trick, there we go. And Reiss, yourself?
2-0. They'll come and try and spoil it, but we'll get a goal in the first and a goal in the second half.
Yeah, I agree. I think. I was going to agree. Maybe not. I think we'll try and start fast again, get the game won early, and just give minutes and legs, because I think that's ultimately what's needed at this point as well. A few comments coming in here. David P says Diomande and Cortez to start, and Adrian Duncan says 5-0 to the Teddy Bears. So, yeah, but listen, thank you everybody for tuning in, watching, and joining us as always. This has been a really good Wednesday podcast. What I'll say is, after the Aberdeen game where Bill was sacked, if you had said to me the next time we play Aberdeen at home at Ibrox, we would be in a title race with a healthy looking squad, with new players that have come in that look to start, to improve the team, a mentality shift like that, a fitness boost, they just look fitter, I would have said you are lying all day long, but it's where we are. We're back in a title race, so strap in and enjoy the ride, everybody. Just a wee bit of the housekeeping before we go, and that's if you haven't given us a like or a subscribe, do so. And yeah, we will see you back again at the weekend. I think it is myself and Mr. Dennett. You'll have the privilege of seeing us all in the gantry. But take care, everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.